We're here today with Chris Frew, who is the CEO and founder of BioBuzz Media and Workforce Genetics. And Chris and I have known each other for a while. We're both big Maryland fans, and I have the distinct honor of being one of the charter members sponsors when Chris first started this up. And wow, night and day. I mean, in the early days, it seemed like a great idea. And now it just seems like it's taking off like a rocket. And I think probably everybody that's listening to this program already knows you, Chris, but just in case there's a few people out there that don't, can you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little bit about BioBuzz and Workforce Genetics?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. And I'm proud of having AGT as an early sponsor and being part of this journey as well. I mean, it's been so rewarding to see this get to the stage we're at right now, and your support from the early days has really meant a lot to me and to our organization. So yes, for those who don't know me, I'm the founder of BioBuzz Media and Workforce Genetics. So BioBuzz Media is a division of Workforce Genetics. It's often the question I get a lot is what's the difference between the two. Ultimately, we exist to help better connect the workforce to employers. We just do that through two different ways. You know, Workforce Genetics is a recruiting company, so we help recruit directly for a lot of the life science employers in the region. And BioBuzz, what we do is we're creating a community and a solution that really helps to create experiences through our writing and our content and the events we do. That really just helps people build community and connect with everything going on here in the local region and the employers that are doing such amazing things to advance science and medicine, just like you and your team are doing at AGT.
Well, thanks for the shout out to AGT. Love being name dropped. And we did, we were both gaining momentum at the same time. So it is kind of exciting that I feel like we're compadres in the exciting growth of the biotech industry in this region. You have been in Maryland, I guess, pretty much your whole life, and you decided to start this business in Maryland. What made Maryland a good place to found this company?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I guess if I can, let me start back with BioBuzz. This year we're around 11 years, Jeff. I don't know if you can believe that, but
wow.
So the evolution has been pretty dramatic. But BioBuzz really started to help build a more connected workforce. And what's kind of unique about Maryland is, Maryland has kind of this, broad ecosystem, right? You got Baltimore and Frederick and Montgomery County, which is kind of like the nucleus. But it's people would say driving between Montgomery County and Baltimore is like the longest 45 minutes, and you often need a passport. So part of like why Maryland is because there was just this really big need to help build connectivity and build community that fostered around it. And I think Maryland has just been a great place for us to grow because we're surrounded by, such amazing people that are solving big problems in Maryland. So if you come and start a company in Maryland, in this capital region, you're here to solve big problems. And so I think that in order to solve big problems, you need the top talent and you need really engaged workforce. So I think that was just a recipe for us to come in and become a platform where the workforce could come and engage and learn about employers and build their networks and build their communities to help foster their careers and grow. And so I think geography played a part. And I think that the nature of this just vibrant, rich, economy that we have, in the biohealth economy in Maryland has played a big part. So yeah, it's been great. And the other thing, Maryland is just, I'm born here, I was raised here. It's just a great place to live. I mean, so
yeah,
why go leave to Boston or San Francisco or somewhere when you got Maryland, which is one of the most diverse states in the union. The diversity here is just one of the most beautiful things about the state.
Yeah.
And diversity in the industry as well. And then, I can be at the beach in 2 hours, or I can be hiking a trail in Frederick in an hour and a half. And so it's just a great place to be. I can be in the city in 40 minutes.
I'm so glad that you said that. because I came from Silicon Valley. I spent 30 years there, and I really thought I was going to miss that area quite a bit. And I miss the weather every once in a while, but everything else about Maryland is better. It has a lot of the same diversity, a different kind of mix of backgrounds in this area than in Silicon Valley, but it enjoys that same level of intellectual pursuit and educational level, and kind of commitment to producing all sorts of interesting technologies that change the world, right? But then at the same time, it's exactly what you said. There's so much space around us, and it's just such a beautiful place to live. So thank you for sharing it with a guy who grew up in Boston and then was in Silicon Valley for all this time. It is like one of the best kept secrets on the Eastern Seaboard. I think I was really surprised to get here.
Well, we're happy that you made that journey from Boston to Silicon Valley and are now building AGT here. So
I meet more and more people who made that same journey. That's what's interesting too, is it seems like we're attracting a lot of folks from that area, and there is a ton of growth here, like you were alluding to. And I've seen you go from like a one-man shop up to a big operation. And how many lives are you touching at this point? What does the organization look like in terms of the number of people that are visiting your site? The number of companies that you're interacting with, people that you're interacting with. How has this ecosystem grown since you've been working on it?
Yeah, great question. So the ecosystem, I mean, the ecosystem is exploding. So, I guess I'll answer that question in two parts. From the ecosystem standpoint, I mean, the amount of growth happening in biotech is just astounding. The growth in the gene and cell therapy kind of sector in Maryland is just taking off. And the vaccines and infectious disease, especially this past year after COVID, where we're seeing, again, some of the, vaccines and diagnostics that the world is depending on are coming right out of Maryland here. So that's been, that has definitely played into our growth. Our audience, just over the past 3.5 years since we launched, we're now serving about 15,000 people through our different email newsletters. So that has grown quite a bit over the past 3 years. Over the past year, I think we had about 190,000 visitors to our website who are reading articles about companies like AGT and all the great work that's being done. And the people, that's a big part of what we do, is we tell a lot of people stories. The people that are, a lot of people are interested in it. So that's kind of how the platform has grown. And I think one thing that I'm pretty proud of is that the demographic, Jeff, that's grown, we're seeing the highest growth in is outside of the region. So what that tells me is that there's a lot of people that are really interested in the work and the people that are doing that work here in Maryland.
Yeah, that's a really interesting data point that you mentioned. It does seem like a lot of major companies are putting down a footprint in this area, probably to drink from the same font that we're enjoying so much here, with all of the federal institutes that are here, NIH, a lot of the original work in the sequencing of the human genome, and just this release of talent in the area. So that's probably driven a substantial amount of your growth, along with this giant windfall recently in COVID. Right? Because we have companies like Novavax that went from 80 employees up to over 800 virtually overnight in order to respond to the pandemic, and are doing terrifically well, but they got to get those employees from somewhere. Did you see like a lot of activity in workforce genetics, or, sort of at your different types of networking events and things like that as that COVID explosion happened?
Absolutely. It's kind of a dichotomy, right? Like, the rest of the world shut down and biotech ramped up, and that's one of the rewarding things about this field, is that just that alone. So yeah, as this past year, like you said, companies like Novavax and Emergent and these companies that are providing solutions, they need a lot of people. Yeah. And our platform, we're not just telling stories, we exist to help create experiences that help to better connect the workforce to employers. So we do that through different, type of programming. And one of those is virtual recruiting events. So what we found is that these companies who need to hire quickly needed new solutions like we have. They needed new ways to get their employer brand out there, not to just say, we have these jobs, but right now with the employment at near full employment in biotech, and everybody competing for talent, and companies that are seeing hundreds plus of job positions they have to fill, BioBuzz has become a really great solution for that, for them to, share their employer brand and share their employee stories and really help showcase the why behind what's helping to motivate job seekers. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, from a workforce genetics standpoint, the recruiting, our recruiters are just have never been busier. And, we're not only recruiting for a lot of the companies you mentioned, but a lot of the growth stage companies who are emerging and moving into clinicals and moving into, getting their IPOs. And that's been really rewarding to be a part of that. And I have a really special vantage point, I think, and I get to not only work hand in hand with them, really sourcing, identifying, attracting their top performers, but I also get to play a role in helping to share their story on a broader scale. And for me, those are two different experiences not a lot of businesses get to do, and we get to do both of those, which is amazing to me.
Yeah, there seems to be a tremendous synergy between BioBuzz and Workforce Genetics in terms of, the crossover of not just the people, but the ideas. And hopefully I'm not going to embarrass you here, but one of the things that struck me about you right away is, and something that I really like, is creativity. I felt like you had a whole different idea for recruiting. This whole concept that you're just slid in there about branding the companies. When you first described that to me, it was one of these moments where I was like, wow, everybody should be doing this. I mean, is that something that you can kind of encapsulate for the folks that are listening today? What does it mean to go ahead and brand your company out in this, very tight, very competitive employee marketplace and workforce market?
Yeah, it's crucial. And I appreciate you recognizing that. I mean, I think one of the things that I've always valued about you as well, that I think has connected us, is you've always been such a great ambassador for your vision, right? And around AGT. And that hasn't always been the case in the biotech industry. But as the biotech industry is expanding and becoming more like, a traditional IT industry, and companies realize that their leaders and their company and their brand has to be out there because they're competing for talent, and it's a very, very competitive market. And your talent is the differentiator. I mean, it's your scientists, it's your engineers that are bringing the solutions and your IP to market. So talent is such a crucial element for biotech. So you've seen this evolution, and I've seen it over the past 3 years. I've felt it, Jeff, because I know from 3 years ago when I was going into meetings and telling people, hey, we're here to not only help you recruit, but to tell your employer brand. I would hear, employer brand, that sounds good, but I don't really get that right now. I just need a scientist. Can you help me find a scientist? And now it's a completely different story. I'm getting callbacks from those first meetings 3 years ago going, hey, you were talking about employer branding a couple of years ago. Can you come back in and tell me again how we can build this solution? Because, and I think for a lot of businesses, they're feeling the pain. And what employer brand does is it helps you become the employer of choice, and helps you become more authentic to a job seeker. And when you're most of your applicants and most of the people you hire are actively employed right now. So most of your new hires are going to be coming from somewhere else. That means that they're looking for a compelling reason to leave an existing job where they're getting paid and taking care of their family to go to your company. So that storytelling and that messaging and that showcasing the why and that value proposition for the employee has become so much more important just in the past 3 years, as we've seen the kind of industry hit full employment and continue to go through this boom. So I think we kind of came into the market with this really kind of creative solution, just the right time. And we're seeing, as we're scaling, we're seeing more and more companies nodding their heads at us going, yes, that's exactly what we need. Yeah,
I can definitely understand that. I mean, when we first spoke, it just felt to me that you were transferring a lot of stuff that has to go in every other part of the business, like when you're fundraising, your storytelling, you're branding your company, you're talking about your mission, you're trying to connect emotionally with your audience in a way where they will engage with you and you can grow that part of your business. And yet what you're saying is absolutely true. Your employees are the ones who do all the work. That is the major differentiator. If you have smart people that are creative and passionate about the business because they've connected with it emotionally, that is, the secret sauce in everything. That's certainly been true in AGT. And I think that when you spoke to me at first, you really brought that out. And, that's just seems like a natural. Are there any like secrets of telling that story that you could pass on to our listeners? Or do they have to come to you to find out all these details? But are there some generalities that you talk about in terms of connecting with the workforce and generating that type of passion and interest?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess there are, absolutely. So we've done a lot of research on it too. So every time we have an event, virtual recruiting event, we poll our audience and to understand why they're interested and what's motivating them. So in this industry, and in every industry is different, right? So if you're working in the hospitality industry or if you're working in tech, and a candidate has different motivators. So understanding that candidate is important. And so in biotech, mission is something that's very important, especially on the development side, right? So even in the industry, we've identified several different personas of types of candidates and what drives different candidates. So we really geek out about this stuff. So this is the stuff we think about every day.
There's really a science behind it.
Yeah, there's a science behind it.
Wow.
So when we are working with our clients, we're understanding what are the type of people they want to hire and what are the motivators for that type of people. So we understand that if you are a scientist or in the development side, there are certain motivators that are a little more prevalent than others. And then, or like if you're more operational or you're manufacturing, there's also other motivators that are important that have to be highlighted out front, or some of your business related and administrative positions. So we think about all that stuff. And but in this industry in general, mission is a big thing, and then technology is a big thing, because a lot of people what motivates them is the opportunity to work with cutting edge technology or to advance their intellectual experience with that technology and grow. So those are two key pieces. And then culture, which you can kind of whittle down to a couple different things, but culture is really important, for people in this industry. And that's why I think what we tell all our clients and all the people we talk to is, when you are trying to think about your employer brand and how you're reaching and connecting with your audience, it's one thing if the brand says we're a great place to work, right? It's another thing if the CEO says we're a great place to work, but it's something exponentially more impactful when your employees say this is a great place to work. So one of the things we do is we provide opportunities for a third-party platform where we can help your employees, express why your company is a great place to be at. And we can share those stories and share their passion behind that and share their experiences, which become a powerful magnet for other employees. And it becomes powerful content that the employees can share and kind of engage their networks in.
Yeah, I guess that makes it, even more understandable why you see a lot of different articles that dive down into the depths of the company, or that are from the perspective of either managers or employees in the company. And, I think that's one of the things that makes BioBuzz particularly useful and compelling. And I highly recommend that everybody get subscribed to that. It's great local news, and it's not the kind of thing that you would want to miss out on. The other thing, Chris, that you just mentioned is, sort of your process of creating this brand, analyzing the brand, and, what we were talking about, the science of this branding in the workforce genetics or the workforce area. And what it sounds like to me? Just great marketing, right? Whenever you're selling anything, whether it's the company or your product or whatever, great marketing is going to connect you with people that are going to respond, that are going to have an affinity for what you are or what your product is. And of course, it's a no-brainer. You're basically applying great marketing to connecting employers with employees. And yeah, I guess that's one of the reasons that it sounded just terrific from the start. The first time you mentioned that you were going to do it.
Yeah,
So,
my background's recruiting. So I ran a larger recruiting company for many years. And then I went into the SaaS field, and I got a lot of experience in the online community space, connecting people online and associations and societies. But marketing, I went to school for marketing, and it's always been something I've really been passionate about, and I really connected with me. And over the course of my career, what I kept seeing is that the marketing principles, especially as job markets become tighter, and especially when job markets are insular, like the biotech market is pretty insular. There's not a lot of career mobility. You're not seeing a lot of people from like the auto industry coming into biotech. So when you have this kind of like set talent pool, and you have more full employment and higher competition, the principles of marketing just make more sense, because you're just same thing you're doing on selling a product, right? Except the product is the company.
right.
And so that was really kind of, for me, that was the kind of aha moment I had many years ago. And this has been in my mind for a while, like the idea of kind of merging the two. And again, I think that a lot of success is preparation and timing. And so to what we've been talking about, the timing has just been great for us, that this market's really adopting what we really love to do at the right time.
Yeah. I think you're one of the. I get contacted all the time by recruiters, and they always have a candidate for you for a particular position, or they always have some ability to find you the person that you're looking for. But you were really the first one who talked to me about an overall approach to staffing and marketing our company mission, marketing our company culture, and connecting with really the right employees out there. So, I think you've discovered a kind of a unique area, not just physically to be in Maryland, where there's all this growth, but sort of a unique positioning for your company that is, I think it's just spot on, quite frankly. And yeah, I think we've been trying to do that here at AGT all this time. We try to get out there and tell our story constantly, and hopefully our employees are ambassadors, and hopefully getting a sponsorship on your website has been valuable in terms of keeping our brand in everybody's minds. So
yeah, I'll tell you, Jeff. One of the reasons I love working with you is because sometimes I have to go into a client and I have to really get them to understand what we're doing. And the value of a highly niche platform to tell their story on. But what's been great is you get it. It's in your DNA. And so working with you and your team has been great, because it's so easy, because you think about these things, and you're so engaged with your workers, your employees now, and your mission and the vision. So I'll often reference AGT as an example when talking to clients, because you've really done a great job throughout the organization of staying true to that vision and articulating it through your employees and everything. In fact, I don't even know if you remember this, but so you were on our CEO Talks panel probably 4 years ago.
Yep.
And you said something there at that event that I've always held on to as a quote that has been kind of really kind of sounded and a foundation of kind of our principle. And you said the key elements in success boil down to the right people being drawn together by a vision and a passion for something, and storytelling. And I just thought that quote, like, to me, just put it all in a bottle.
You're too kind. This is about you, Chris, not about AGT. But wow, I mean, no, I'm not surprised that there were a couple of tidbits that I dropped here and there that appealed to you, because it was just crystal clear to me from the beginning that we had a lot in common when it came to the idea of marketing. Marketing is presenting yourself in a way that you start to attract the elements that you need. And that quote is really along those lines, right? Get out there and tell your story. Figure out what you are, because you don't want to recruit a lot of people that aren't right for that. And then go out there and tell people what you are. And Chris, you're just the perfect person to help any company with this, big or small. And we have seen just tremendous results in that area. And that's why I was so excited to get you on the program.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. This is great. I always love talking with you because we always, no matter which way the conversation goes, it's really rewarding and fun.
Well, let's talk about the future. So yeah. What is, there's two futures to talk about here. First of all, let's talk about Maryland for a second, because both of us are just passionate about Maryland. We just think the opportunities here are just tremendous. We think that Maryland can become one of the most important biotech centers on the planet one day. And we think, that gene and cell therapy and the vaccine industry is something that's going to power this. So, how do you see like all these different elements growing? Are we going to get enough new STEM graduates? Are we going to get enough people to fill all the management positions in the companies that are starting to grow in this area? What are the challenges ahead? What does the picture look like? What's your vision for Maryland?
Wow, I feel like that could be a whole show in itself, couldn't it?
We should just do another show on that.
Right.
But, okay, so give us a quick one. You could probably speak for a whole day on what I just asked, but give us a few tidbits of what you see ahead here.
Absolutely, and honestly, that points us directly into the vision for our future as well. But so Maryland, I see a lot of things falling into place, which is great. So the industry is growing. There's a lot more collaboration happening between industry and academia than I've seen before. I mean, we're seeing a lot of companies, reaching in and developing programs within the universities to make sure that students are familiar with biotech and familiar with industry equipment and GMP processes. And, that I think was something that was missing before, and we're seeing a lot of that. So I think there's a lot of new programming that's happening that is getting the workforce going. And I'm also seeing a lot more collaboration than ever before. And I think maybe COVID probably might have had a little bit to do with it. I saw it developing beforehand, but that kind of rising tide mentality is really starting to kind of take hold. And I think that's a crucial element for success in, the cooperation has to be there, right? We have to understand that as businesses, we're cooperating together to grow collectively. And, there's like the Maryland Tech Council did a lot during COVID to kind of bring together coalitions. And I know they're doing a lot around workforce, and, we're seeing, the new coalition that AGT was a part of with Montgomery County and Montgomery College and University of Shady Grove. So you're seeing these kind of, these coalitions and these, broader groups coming together to grow this industry. And that's what excites me. I mean, I'm a community guy. I think community is something that we do really well at BioBuzz. We believe in this vision of hierarchy over hierarchy. So we think hierarchy is the way of the future, the more connections and empowering a network to grow. And I see that happening here in Maryland.
Yeah.
And then from an industry standpoint, I mean, it's success begets success, right? So, you look at the Viela Bio story, right? They kind of emerged and in just 3 years were just acquired by Horizon. And now you're seeing kind of this creative destruction happening where, people that were part of that story are kind of coming out and starting to, innovate or join other companies. And similar to what happened when MedImmune was bought by AstraZeneca or Human Genome was bought by GSK. So those things are really important for an ecosystem. And sometimes in order to get that management, type of workforce, you just need more exits. You need more, more of that stuff is going to create that experienced pool. And I think we've seen that, and we're seeing that. We've seen a lot of, several IPOs over the past year. And so I think that there's just a lot of momentum that this region is kind of riding right now. Mm-hmm. So we're excited about it. I mean, I'm bullish on Maryland.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, when I go out and I talk about collaborations with universities and government, I just see a real, affection and passion for this area. That you see a little bit of extra energy that everybody wants to make the area successful, and this is creating that cooperation. But also,
Mhm.
the companies don't necessarily silo themselves, and this reminds me very much of Silicon Valley, that we also use that same word, cooperation, and another thing called next bench syndrome, where what you needed in your business was being created in the next bench down. And so it's the idea that, all those other things that you need that may not be core to your business, but are context to your business, like critical context, happen to be in the area. Like, this was a place where there was a huge amount of viral vector experience, and there were good manufacturers here, and that grew up, and it allowed a foundation for a lot of companies that wanted to develop therapeutics or, gene therapeutics or cell therapeutics. And that is, one of the things that I find very intriguing about the growth in this area is exactly what you said, is that there's a benefit to getting to know your neighbors. There's a benefit to being at these events where we see each other, and it's going to be so nice when we can see each other again in person, as now that COVID's kind of winding down, and more of these, face-to-face get-togethers, parties that celebrate stuff. And I think another thing that I think parallels Silicon Valley quite a bit is what you just said now, the creative destruction, right? You get these companies that hit an exit, a success point, and there still seems to be a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit or drive that exists in either some of the early members of that company or even ones that started later, that has a desire to go out there and do something new, and they're taking with them all this experience and, even more importantly, sometimes some money, right? The more companies that are successful in this area, hopefully the entrepreneurs are going to stay here and grow additional businesses, and they'll be able to attract more and more capital, not just within the area but outside of the area, to ride alongside some investment from here. So I'm very excited about that whole creative destruction thing that you just brought up. I think it's so true. So, well, okay. I think
Yeah.
that, yeah, if you have something to add to
Well,
that, I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
well, I think that the second part of your question around like what's next for us,
Yeah.
um, I think some of the things that get me excited is we've built this community at this point, and a great brand, but ultimately, since the beginning, we've existed to create a more connected workforce. So workforce has always been at the heart of what we're doing. So really, where we're going as an organization is we're continuing to evolve, and we're building out some really, I think, unique and valuable community solutions. So, we're building out an online community platform that's going to be rolling out later this year. We're building out some other technology solutions that are really workforce centric, and really, we see that BioBuzz and where we want BioBuzz to become is this destination where someone who has never been part of the biotech industry can come and experience the industry, get to know careers, get to know what a rewarding career is in this industry, build the relationships and the networks to then build their career in this industry. And we want them to be a part of the BioBuzz community for their whole career. So really where we are evolving as this company is we want to be this destination that impacts a person's career in biotech from, the moment that they experience it all the way through their whole career. So that's kind of where we're going. And I think the one of the areas that we're going to be addressing that we don't see anybody has really addressed yet is that the workforce is, it's not growing at the pace that the industry is growing. So we see a tremendous need to fix one of the problems out there is that there's not a lot of career mobility in between other industries. So in a time where we're all interested in diversity, and diversity in this industry is an important topic because we do need to do more, and creating more opportunity for other industries who have been impacted by COVID. BioBuzz is doing some really interesting stuff right now that we'll be rolling out soon that is going to be helping people from whether they're a cook or a car mechanic or a dairy farmer or a vet who's coming out of the military. We're working to identify the people that are most interested and best suited for the industry, and we're helping to create a pathway for those people. So I think again, and that's the earliest point where we want to impact. We talk about being that destination. So right now, my team is really focused on that first point of impact, and how do we impact and help our clients and all the employers by identifying new talent that isn't coming through the traditional pathways. And again, it's something that we've had in mind for a while, but I'm really passionate about it. I'm passionate about that idea of democratizing access to such amazing careers that are stable, high paying, and very rewarding, and being able to help people kind of come in and figure out how they can get that career started. So I think that's going to be what you're going to see out of us in the near term, next 12 months, and just continue to grow as this platform solution that grows along with the local industry and eventually spreading across to other hubs.
So you're thinking about eventually growing out of Maryland, huh? And heading out into other biotech hubs around the country and around the world. Will that remain your focus?
Well, Maryland will always be my first love. Right?
Good for you. That was a trick question, and you just passed.
I got it. So Maryland will always be, kind of our place of origin, and we have this is where we're going to be building for a little bit. But we see that the same model that exists here in Maryland, we see that we have the ability to help employers in a lot of different hubs, and we see that in biotech, more so than a lot of other industries, like that ecosystem, that local ecosystem is really important. 80% of your first talent is local, and the first collaborators you use as you're emerging out of a university and starting your company or starting your career. A large portion of your early investors often are local. So we just see that the things that we're doing here can be very valuable in other hubs that are emerging, like in Philadelphia and in New York and RTP and other areas across the country. So once we continue to build it out locally here and really showcase that we have a really great way to help employers grow and help people grow their careers, yeah, we don't want to hold that back. We want to find a way to kind of make that happen across the country and maybe the world.
Yeah, well, I think you have a unique formula, and I think that this unique formula can work anywhere and in any industry. That's why I was wondering whether it'll stay in bio, but I think there's a lot of work to do in bio. And I'm glad to hear that your first love is Maryland, because I think that BioBuzz is going to be a terrific way to brain drain San Francisco and Boston. San Francisco is too expensive. It's too crowded. The traffic is ridiculous at this point. And Boston has all those same problems, plus really horrible weather. So Maryland cannot be beat as a place to continue to grow your company or to grow your career. And BioBuzz and Workforce Genetics is a great way to connect to it. So that having been said, 15,000 people that are members of your community and 190,000 page views, that is a ton of momentum already. I think that what you're talking about can't help but be successful. What do people do if they want to connect with this community and get involved in it and start to take advantage of all this wired connectivity that you're talking about and this opportunity to get the best people or get the best career?
Yeah, thanks. So you can visit us at biobuzz.io. And when you come onto our site, you can explore some of the content we're writing or the events we have coming up right there on the platform. You can sign up for our newsletters and be part of our community directly from that homepage there. And if you want to learn more, there's ways on the website to learn more and connect with myself and my team. If there's ways that we can help your company, or if you're a candidate looking for a job, there's ways we can help you connect with the right employers. One of the sections that we do a lot of writing on is employer resources, and all that writing is done by my recruiting team. So if you want to learn more about our recruiting team and how they do the career resources, employment resources section, is just a place where we're showcasing a lot of the thought leadership and kind of the way we're looking at the market and different things you might experience in working with us through that site. So, but if you do want to contact us, workforcegenetics.com is the website for the recruiting division, and you can contact us there directly. And we'd love to hear from you. It's an exciting time to be in biotech. It's a challenging time to be hiring in biotech, and we hope that we've got a suite of solutions that can make those challenges a little less daunting for you and your success a little bit more sweeter. So I'd welcome any conversations of people interested in talking.
Well, thanks, Chris. First, thanks for being on the program. Thank you for sharing your insights about creating branding, connecting with potential hires, generating good connection to the workforce here, and especially for your passion for Maryland and creating the idea and hopefully a success of a DNA Valley here. Because I personally believe everything that you said about the potential of this area. I think it's almost unlimited. And it was great talking with you today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff. I really enjoyed this, as always.
All right, let's do it again soon.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All
Talk to you
right.
soon.